extremely difficult situations.
Having said that, are you surprised at the scale and the scope and the speed with which this is now occurring? And do you think it might continue?
I have been surprised. I did not expect something like this to happen in North Africa. And the speed with which both the Tunisian regime and the Mubarak regime in Egypt have collapsed was quite a surprise. But it fits the pattern of what is possible. If you withdraw the sources of power, if you no longer obey, if you no longer serve the regime which is oppressing people and killing people, cut off those sources of power, sooner or later, with no sources of power, that regime sooner or later will collapse. That's universal.
Professor Sharp, there we will leave it. Thank you indeed for talking to us. Gene Sharp in Boston with comments on the success of non-violent protest that we have seen across the Middle East. What you're looking at right now are pictures from Al-Baida, live from that city, which we are told by our correspondent who is there, that the city is now under the control of the protesters. These exclusive pictures show you a significant gathering. We're not entirely sure what is going on there, but we can tell you that the citizens of Al-Baida are on the streets and appear to be able to demonstrate without fear of some kind of reaction from the forces of Muammar Gaddafi. The city apparently now fully under the control of the anti-Gaddafi forces. Now, in Yemen, a pro-independence march in the south has turned deadly after one activist was killed by a landmine. The incident took place in Laudar in the southern Abyan province. That region is a stronghold of the secessionist movement. And in Bahrain, several thousand people have marched to the Pearl roundabout, the scene last week of protests and a government crackdown. They were led by freed political prisoners who've been chanting slogans against the government and the royal family. King Hamad visited Saudi Arabia on Wednesday for talks on the unrest, this according to Bahrain's state media. And in Egypt, the former information minister has now been detained on charges of corruption. Anas al-Fiki was arrested at his Cairo home on Thursday morning. The former chief of the state broadcaster, Osama el-Sheikh, has also been arrested. Both have been banned from traveling. The founder of WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, has lost the first round of his fight against extradition to Sweden. He is wanted there for questioning over allegations of sexual assault that have been lodged against him. Assange says he will appeal against the London court's decision. Tim Friend reports.
This decision is a major blow for Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. The whistleblower who revealed secret US embassy cables to Washington's anger and embarrassment must now face the possibility of a trial on sex charges in Sweden. He says they're politically motivated and designed to smear his reputation. He'll appeal and could still avoid extradition.
What we saw today at Belmarsh was a rubber stamping process that comes as no surprise, but is nonetheless wrong. A rubber stamping process that is a result of a European arrest warrant system run amok.
His defence team say that Assange will not get a fair trial in Sweden, but the UK judge said there was no evidence to support that. There's still a concern amongst Julian Assange's supporters, like these people here, that he could eventually end up being taken to the United States, where many people, US politicians among them, believe that he should be tried for espionage and WikiLeaks rated as a terrorist organisation.
We are still hopeful that the matter will be resolved in this country. We still remain very optimistic about our opportunities on appeal. The judge made a very important finding in relation to both the fact of a secret trial, which in Sweden, which is an anathema to the open justice principle which we in this country, and I think in most civilized countries of the world, hold very dear.
Assange has the support of celebrities and human rights activists. He denies the sex charges against him. but he must continue to wear an electronic tag, which his defence team called degrading and demeaning.
Now, South Africa's President Jacob Zuma has angrily rejected predictions that his country may be heading for a Tunisia-style uprising. Those predictions came from Moeletsi Mbeki, brother of the former president. And as Jonah Hull reports, protests are continuing against poor government services and unemployment.
As regimes fall in the Arab world, fires burn elsewhere as well. This is Wesselton, north of Johannesburg, the latest South African township alight with discontent. Nationwide unrest has escalated since 2007, focusing on the perceived failure of municipal service delivery, housing, utilities, also jobs. Millions continue to go without. So could South Africa succumb to a fervour for change? This man, the brother of former President Thabo Mbeki, says yes.
North Africa and South Africa are the only middle-income countries on the African continent, and they have similar problems, they have similar challenges. That's why it can happen in South Africa, despite the fact that the South African government would rather not talk about that or think about it.
Mbeki's recent claim that revolution will come by 2020 has drawn a furious response from the African National Congress-led government. President Jacob Zuma dismissed Mbeki's comments, insisting every South African has the freedom to speak out and vote.
There will never be a Tunisia in South Africa, is what President Zuma said. It's impossible. He repeated it, impossible. But surely recent events in Tunisia and in Egypt and in Libya have shown that nothing is impossible. And surely, too, recent events here in South Africa have shown that an awful lot of people are extremely unhappy.
The upheaval in the north has its origins in high unemployment, rising living costs, corruption and poor living conditions. All are part of the South African experience as well. But the ANC says there is a key difference.
In a democratic situation, when you don't deliver, the people have a right to remove you from power and appoint somebody else that can deliver.
Which is true. The iconic Party of Liberation has drawn majority support since South Africa's first democratic elections in 1994. But if neglected promises are allowed to pile up, revolution may yet come, if not on the streets, then at the ballot box instead. Jonah Hull, Al Jazeera, Johannesburg.
The latest developments from Libya's uprising. The leader, Muammar Gaddafi, has blamed the problems in his country on Al-Qaeda and its leader, Osama bin Laden. He made the claim on national television a little earlier.
The requests come from bin Laden. They are, why did Al-Zawiya get involved in these issues like the bin Laden related matters? They have been brainwashing the kids and the young people of that area, teaching them how to misbehave